the spectral theorem section. So H is Hilbert space over the field F, which is basically R or C. H is finite dimensional, that is, basis is finite, or the basis finite exists. Let T be an operator and T is also given to be T is normal operator, that is T star is T star T. So we have a normal operator on a finite dimensional Hilbert space. What we have seen is that on a finite dimension, the spectrum exists. So if you consider determinant of T minus lambda I, the operator, or the matrix if you write more properly, this would be a finite having finite number of columns. So by the fundamental theorem of algebra, the ion values exist, and hence corresponding ion vectors exist. Thereby ion spaces too. And the spectra is nothing but is the collection of the distinct ion values of T. So in the previous section we have seen various properties by assuming some axioms, or rather things which we need to prove later, and then we got an expression for T and so on, corresponding projections. So we had the projections on the ion spaces, and representation for T. The orthogonality of the distinct ion spaces, and the span of them being H. Let's try to prove these facts. So let's take the first proposition in this section. So the proposition: if T is a normal operator, on H, then X is ion vector of T with ion value lambda, if and only if what happens is that X is an ion vector of T star with ion value lambda bar. Okay. So let's try to prove. So proof. So this is a proof first. Rather, let's look at what is given. So given P is a normal operator on H. So let's look at T minus lambda. The operator is a map from H to H. It's clearly easy to see that it's a linear as well as continuous. So this is an operator on H. The adjoint being T minus lambda I whole star. This is T star minus lambda bar I star. Since I star is I, identity map. So this becomes T star minus lambda bar times I. So this is the adjoint of this thing. The claim is that this is also a normal operator. So T minus lambda I times T minus lambda I star. Let's check that. What is this object? So this is T minus lambda I multiplied by T star minus lambda bar I. So this is nothing but T star minus lambda bar T times I, which is T, minus lambda T star I times this thing, plus mod of lambda whole square I. Also T minus lambda I star times T minus lambda I, this is nothing but T star minus lambda bar I, this multiplied by T minus lambda I, this is equal to multiplication T star T minus lambda T star minus lambda bar T plus mod of lambda whole square I. So you can see that this term over here is the same thing as this term. This term over here, lambda bar T, is the same thing as over here. This term over here is the same thing as this term over here. And this term is the same thing as this term. So this is equal to this thing. In other words, what do we have is that T minus lambda I is an T minus lambda I is also an normal operator, a normal operator. Also normal operator. Because T minus lambda I is a normal operator for any scalar lambda belonging to the field. So by the section in the projection on Hilbert space section, what do we have is that norm of T minus lambda I of X would be the same thing as norm of T minus lambda bar, or rather T star lambda bar I of X for all X belonging to H. So what does this do? So if X is a ion vector of T corresponding lambda, if and only if X is ion vector corresponding of T star corresponding to lambda bar. So ion vector remains the same. The operator T and T star changes, and the lambda and becomes lambda bar. So this finishes this section, or rather this proposition, sorry. And then what do we have? The next proposition. Another proposition, what is it? If T is a normal operator, then the corresponding ion spaces MIs are pairwise orthogonal. So let's write proof. Let xi and xj be vectors in mi and mj for I not equal to j. So they are distinct ion spaces corresponding to distinct ion values lambda I and lambda j. Okay. Then what do we have? So Txi would be what? Would be lambda I xi, and Txj would be lambda j xj. So lambda I multiplied by xi comma xj, if this is it, rather let's say this is inner product, so this is symbol inner product of xi comma xj. This is would be inner product of linearity in the first variable. So here lambda I xi comma xj, this would be the same thing as T of xi comma xj. So lambda I inner product of xi with xj is nothing but inner product of Txi comma xj. So this is the same thing as xi comma T star xj. So which is the same thing as what? Inner product of xi comma lambda bar j xj. Okay. Why? This one. Yeah, lambda j. This not lambda j bar, just lambda j xj. Okay. This is it. This lambda j coming here becomes lambda j bar in a product of xi xj. Okay. Here this is lambda I. Just a minute. This is Ti star. Yes, this is correct. Lambda I. So what do we have? T star. But the previous proposition, if xj is correspondingly what? Xj is correspondingly ion. So here what do we have? This. So for T of xj is lambda j xj. So this would become what? This would become lambda bar. That's correct. So this becomes lambda bar. And hence what do we have? This is lambda j bar. So coming here lambda j xi xj. We are using the previous proposition. So we have this lambda I in a product of xi comma xj. Now this is shifting this on the left hand side. So lambda I minus lambda j multiplied by in a product of xi xj. This all happening on the field. So this is 0. The point is that this cannot be 0 because these are distinct ion values. So these are distinct ion values. Lambda I cannot be equal to lambda j. So the only this way this can happen is xi and xj in a product is 0. So this implies that xi must be perpendicular to xj, and thereby implying that these were just objects in the ion spaces. Mi and mj are perpendicular or they are pairwise orthogonal. Mi, mj, any ion spaces corresponding to with respect to the T. Okay, that finishes this proposition. Next proposition. If P is normal operator on Hilbert space H and a dimensional H, then each ion space Mi reduces P. Proof. Since Mi is ion space, corresponding to ion value lambda I of T, Mi clearly is invariant under T, because T of xi would be lambda I xi for all xi belonging to Mi, and since lambda I belongs to the field, it's a scalar, so and Mi is a subspace, it clearly implies that xi is in Mi, so this object also belongs to Mi. Okay. So if xi is in Mi, T of xi is also in Mi. Okay. So that implies that Mi is invariant under T. Okay. But the first proposition, what we can say is that if xi is ion space, so what do we have? That if xi is nothing but in ion space is in Mi, then T of xi was lambda I xi, then T star of xi is nothing but lambda I bar xi. This is happening by the first proposition. So what do we get? So this implies that this object over here is that Mi, xi is any object in Mi. So Mi is invariant under T star also. So it's invariant under T and under T star. So in the section of the the projection section of the Hilbert spaces, what do we have is that Mi is reduces. So proposition from there, the third proposition in the section of the projections on Hilbert spaces, Mi reduces T. That is what we have. That takes care of this proposition. Now next proposition, or the part of the spectral theorem, what do we have? So let's call this as a theorem. Part of the spectral theorem for normal operator. T is a normal operator on Hilbert space H is finite dimensional space. Okay. Then the claim is that the ion spaces MIs, all of the MIs ion spaces then corresponding to the ion values of all ion values, this thing, they span H. So proof. In the second proposition in this section itself, T is normal. What we have shown, T is normal. We have shown that MIs are pairwise orthogonal. Pairwise orthogonal. MIs are pairwise orthogonal. The next thing is that then if MIs are pairwise orthogonal, the sixth proposition from the Hilbert spaces, projection from Hilbert spaces, that implies that the corresponding projections, the projection PIs on MIs, they are what? They are orthogonal projections. So PI is a map, it's a projecting onto MIs. Okay. Or in other words, this is PI, the image space, and so on. Not only that, the last proposition in that section, the seventh proposition, what does it say? Is that if you take the space M formed out by, suppose there are, suppose MIs are M in number, maybe say I is running from 1 to M, that is there are distinct ion values as lambda 1, lambda 2 and lambda M in number. So M, the space M plus M2 plus so on up till M subscript M is a closed linear subspace of H and the projection. So P, the projection obtained by P1 or the map P1 and so on, PM is projection on P, on M rather, sorry, on the space M. Okay. By the previous proposition here, MI, each of these MI reduces T. So the point is that we have this PI is the corresponding projection on MI. So the section on projections on Hilbert spaces, the fifth proposition on Hilbert spaces says that then the condition is equivalent is that T of Pi should be Pi of T, and this should be for all I going from 1 to M, because each of this MI reduces T. So T of Pi is Pi of T. So T of P1 is the same thing as P1T. TP2 is the same thing as P2 of T, and so on. TPM is the same thing as PMT. The moment you have this thing, then what do we get? If we apply this thing here, what do we get is that this gives us the following fact, is that TP. So if you look at TP, which would be TP1 plus TP2 plus so on TPM, which would be the same thing as then by P1T plus P2T plus so on PMT. This is the same thing as P1 plus P2 continuing up to PM bracket T. So this is nothing but PT. So TP becomes PT, and once this is, if and only this happens, that M, the sum space reduces T. So M is a closed linear subspace, and what do we have is that M is reducing T. So if M reduces T, what do we have is that M perpendicular. So we can consider the space M perpendicular. So we have M and we can look at M perpendicular space. If M perpendicular is not the zero space, in other words, it's a non-trivial subspace, then what do we have? The projection P would give me that H is equal to M direct sum M perpendicular. Okay. So considering if it is non-zero, so T, what would happen to T? If T is M reduces T, then M perpendicular is an operator. The restriction of T. So T is a map, M reduces T. So T of M perpendicular would go to M perpendicular itself. So the point is that so T of M perpendicular would be contained in M perpendicular. So what do we have is that T is an operator on M perpendicular, and M perpendicular is a finite dimensional vector space, non-trivial. So T must have ion value and then ion vectors in M perpendicular. But M is nothing but M has all ion spaces corresponding to T. Because M perpendicular is finite dimensional, we can take the determinant of T minus lambda and so on. So we have that. We look at the matrix representation of T and then A minus whatever T minus lambda determinant and so on. So this guarantees the existence. But all are exhausted here. So M perpendicular cannot have ion values. This is a contradiction. So this is appearing. So this contradiction is happening because we are assuming that M perpendicular is not the zero space. So hence M perpendicular is equal to the singleton zero space, and what do we have is that now clearly implies that H is nothing but M. In other words, M1 plus M2, the sum of all these spaces M2 and MM, this is equal to H. And that gives the proof of this part, and that finishes this part, this proposition which says that Mi span H. So the spectral resolution, what do we have? So the parts of the spectral resolution for T would be is that T would be lambda 1 P1 up till lambda M PM. Okay. Later we will show that this is unique representation. Okay. PIs are and Pi is perpendicular to J for I not equal to J. Okay. What would happen to T square? T square would be nothing but lambda 1 P1 up till lambda M PM multiplied by lambda 1 P1 up till lambda M PM. So if you look at this multiplication, so the first term is multiplied by all lambda 1 square P1 square plus lambda 1 lambda 2 P1 P2 plus lambda 1 lambda M PM. So what we have done is that we have multiplied this with the first term, multiplied this with the second term, multiplied this the last term, and so on. So in this case, this is perpendicular position, this is 0, this is 0. This is 0. Each of the term except surviving term is this one. So now if you multiply the second term with all of them, so hence continuing this. So what do we have? This implies that p square is nothing but lambda 1 square p1, because p1 is projection. So p on a Hilbert space, p1 square is p1 and p1 star is also p1. So we are using just the fact that it is idempotent and so on. This is lambda m pn. So this is this one. So similarly, going this way, what would we have is that if n is any positive integer, natural number, t raised to n would be nothing but lambda 1 raised to n p1 up till lambda m raised to n pm. Okay. This is our tn. And if n is equal to 0, what we have is that the usual thing that this becomes t raised to n, the identity map, which is nothing but p1 up till pm. So n belongs to 0 union n. This is valid. So let's look at one polynomial which is helpful in interpolation and so on, what comes into picture. Suppose I have a complex polynomial. Suppose z is belonging to a C, okay, as a complex number. Then you consider the following. So if suppose p is a normal operator and we have the corresponding ion values or the spectrum is the following thing: lambda 1, lambda 2 up till lambda m. Okay. Take lambda j for that set, lambda j. So the term from lambda j is that removed. So lambda j. So what is the set? So you just consider the set lambda 1, lambda 2, lambda 3, lambda 4 and so on. Whatever the lambda j is there. So here is lambda j minus 1 and here next term is lambda j plus 1, lambda n. Okay. If you have this thing, consider the polynomial p small pj. So let's write with a different notation. This is not a projection, it's a polynomial. So small pj of z. This j signifies what? This signifies the following polynomial: z minus lambda 1 continuing up till z minus lambda j minus 1. So this term corresponding to this thing. And the next thing, the missing term here is the lambda j is missing. So you just miss that term here and then z minus lambda j plus 1 continue in and then z minus lambda m. In the denominator, what do we have is the following. In spite of z now, what I would do is that lambda j. These are distinct ion values. So j is not equal to any of this thing. Lambda j minus lambda 1. Here would be lambda j minus lambda j minus 1, lambda j minus lambda j plus 1 and continue up till lambda j minus lambda m. Then what do we have from here is that if we consider this pj z, this polynomial, take in this polynomial z is equal to lambda j. So if you take z equal to lambda j, what do we get is that this becomes lambda j minus lambda. So this term is the same thing, z equal to lambda j. So that divides and that becomes 1. Each of the term becomes 1. So it's clear that pj of z is nothing but 1 into 1 into 1 into 1 m minus 1 ones are there. These are total m minus 1 because lambda j is sum, and that is nothing but m minus 1 product. So this is 1. And what would happen to pj of any lambda, maybe say lambda 1. So if I put lambda 1 here minus lambda 1, this is denominator is not going to vanish. Lambda 1 minus lambda 1 is 0. So that is 0. So the numerator 0 into anything is 0. So lambda 1, this is 0. All terms, so pj of lambda 2, that is also 0. all terms would be 0. So what we can write directly is that Pj of lambda I, this is equal to 0 for I not equal to j. So we can use the Kronecker delta to write this thing. So what is Pj? So let's write here. Pj of z, or rather lambda I in the notation, lambda I, this is nothing but delta ij. Okay. So what is delta ij? It's a Kronecker delta. It is equal to 0 if I is equal to j, and it is equal to if I not equal to j. And 1 if I is equal to j. That is the Kronecker delta. So why this helps is that Pj of z is 1 for I not for I equal to j, and it vanishes. So if we look at the Tn operation, so let's write that. Since t raised to n was lambda n, lambda 1 raised to n p1 up till lambda m raised to n pm for n belonging to singleton 0 union natural numbers, then what do we get is that any polynomial, so if you take any polynomial of t, suppose I have t plus 2t square. So if you look at this polynomial, this would be nothing but lambda 1 p1 up till lambda m pm plus 2 times lambda square p1 up till 2 lambda square pm. So if you look at this term, this is nothing but lambda 1 p1 plus 2 times lambda square p1. Then next term would be lambda 2 p2 plus lambda 2 times lambda square p2, and continuing so on. So what do we get is that this term and this is the same polynomial. Suppose this is a polynomial in, maybe say I call this thing as p of t. So this is nothing but a polynomial in lambda I. So here is lambda 1. So this becomes p of lambda 1 plus p of lambda 2. So and so on. So with rather pi's would be there. A more proper way to write is this thing is that simplification lambda 1 plus 2 lambda 1 square p1 plus lambda 2 plus 2 lambda 2 square p2 and so on. So this would be nothing but whatever this polynomial p lambda 1 p1 plus p lambda 2 p2 and so on. So what do we get from here is that if I have a polynomial in capital T, it's an operator. So I would have a polynomial in here. Suppose I have some polynomial, so p is a polynomial, this is an operator. This would be nothing but summation of small same p operator in terms of lambda I, and then here it is pi, I going from 1 to m, where p is a polynomial and capital Pi is a projection on mi, ion space mi. Now what would happen if I take this polynomial as the previous polynomial? So I have this polynomial p1 of z, p2 of z, these polynomials and so on up till pm of z. So this polynomial p1 of lambda 1, that was only 1 and rest all was 0, and p2 of lambda 2, that is only 1 and rest all are 0. Here pm of lambda m, that is 1 and rest all are 0. So if you have this kind of thing, what would it give from here is that if I replace this p, this p1 if I write here, this is also becoming then this p1 of lambda 1. So in this summation, other terms would vanish, and I would have p1 of small p1 of t, p1 of t would be the same thing as small p1 of lambda 1. P1, but this is itself is 1. Rest all terms would be 0, 0, 0, 0. So what do I get from here is that this would give that explicitly that capital P1, the projection would be P1 is equal to small p1 of lambda 1, and similarly P2, so I have P2 would be since Pi would be Pi of lambda I. So this polynomial determines this projection, and I would be so on. The summation of all i's would be this thing. The Pi's are pairwise orthogonal, so they are uniquely determined. So these projections Pi, they are uniquely determined by this polynomial. So later what we want to show is that the unique spectral resolution. So what we have produced is a spectral resolution. So later unique, so these polynomials would be used, or rather this polynomial representation will be used to show uniqueness. Let's stop it over here.